Yo, what is up, everyone? Tachi here. So today we are pretty much just going to set the record straight for what you should be picking and what you should not be picking for the free units. I'm going to explain why you don't pick something. I'm going to explain why you should leave things open and whatnot. So you do actually have to think, Brown Dust is not the type of game where like I have to tell you like, oh, you have to pick Anastasia or Wahambina, for example, and you just pick between those. Like it's not that simple. Everyone's situation is different. Obviously, if you have certain units, you do not double them down. You don't need them. So we're just gonna start out with the Warriors. This is day one, and I'm gonna just eliminate the ones that you do not get for sure. So we're gonna start out. You do not want to get Elijah, right? You don't want Jin. You don't want Hanya. You don't want Siegmund. You don't want Elenir, right? Now, you don't want Anastasia. You don't need her. She's going to fall off heavily in PvP. She does not need to be used in PvE at all. She does make some things easier. Don't get me wrong. She makes things easier for some stages, but you don't need her. She's not needed. So she's not your priority to get as a free +9. Now, if you are a PvP player, you shouldn't pick Uhamina because she's going to fall off the meta very heavily in the next patch. So you don't want Wahamina. The only reason why you could leave this option open, and I'll do the same for Anastasia, you could maybe, this is an iffy one. You could pick Anastasia, but I wouldn't prioritize it. Wahamina is the same. Generally, I would say you don't need her. Dalvi, solid choice. 100% solid choice. Foxy is actually going to become part of meta again soon. She's going to be used not as much as Dalvi, but she's going to be used, I would say, more than Wahamina. And the reason for that is because Foxy survives against counters. So she doesn't die to Kali. She doesn't die to Rafithia counter. I'm pretty sure that's what her full name is. So she might be a secondary option. If you already have Dalvi, she could be a secondary option. So I'll give her, like a plus or a squiggly or something. And then Christina is also going to be a very good option. And this is very if you don't mind waiting 2 months. Remember, Christina just got +15. She's actually quite strong. If you don't mind waiting the 2 months, so that is to say, if you are like me, you already have Anastasia, you already have Wahamina, you already have Foxy, and for whatever reason, let's say you already have Dalvi too. You don't have any other choices here? Go Christina. Or better yet, if you have Dalvi and you have Foxy, I would go Christina over Anastasia or Wahamina. So keep in mind what units you have. I would pick Christina over Anastasia or Wahamina. If you have Dalvi and Foxy, or better yet, if you have Dalvi and certain mages, if you're going to go like triple mage and just Dalvi as your only warrior, or Barbara, or Nia, something like that kind of comp, then Christina is a very good choice for you to go. But keep in mind, she's going to be 100% useless for the next 2 months until global server, EU, etc. get her helper. So do keep that in mind. It's very important that you understand that. Now, we're going to move on to number 2. All right, now we are on day 2. Now, day 2 is supporters. This is 4-star supporters, so it's actually really going to depend on what you have and what you need. So we're going to start out again with units that you don't really need, +9. So automatically, Anais, Ebony, Vincent, Elijah. You don't need them +9. Now, this is the part where it's going to depend on what units you have. So your first priority, 100% Serendia. 100%. That's hands down. Your second priority is going to be split in between, I'm going to say, it really depends on what you're trying to do, because Qwick, for example, is a lot better in PvP. So I'm going to put, for PvP, I'm going to say Qwick is a 2. And then I'm also put Ceres and probably Cerubia in there as well. And then I'm going to put John at a 3rd and Narissa, you don't really like. By the time that you get to this stage in the game, I don't think you really need Narissa, and she's never used in Novice. She might be used in PvE like occasionally. So that's a 2. Yeah. So this is my choice when it comes to this. So me specifically, I don't have Qwick at +9, so he's actually a number 1 for me. I don't need Serenity at +9. So do keep this in mind. Go based on the priority of what you have. If you already have Serenity at +9, obviously, or +15 like I do, you don't need her again. So go down the list. Number 2, Qwick. Do you have Ceres and Cerubium? Then go Qwick. If you have all 3, go John. If you have John, go Narissa. If you have literally all the ones with numbers, just pick from the other units. That's fine. It's okay. Even though there's an X there, if you already have all the other ones max, feel free to pick from the units that have an X. It's not a huge deal. Now, let's go to the next one. Day 3 is the 5-star tanks, defenders. Automatically, Aaron is a big old X, Leckless is an X, Kalen is an X, Leomarin's an X, Arkan's an X, Seer's an X. You already get Seer for free. But, and here's a caveat, if you already have, oh yeah, Zenith is also an X. You only need her +0. You don't need her to have any skill ups. If you already have Cecelia, Kali, and Glacia for the future update, I would say Seer is probably your best bet there, or even Leckless. So I'm gonna put a little squiggly on Seer and Leckless. Even though you do get a free Seer, a +9 Seer will help you a lot in Patan. So I do have to keep that in mind. Now, here is where there's gonna be some issues. So starting in the 6 Devil meta, Cecelia is going to be used solely as a front blocker. I want to say solely, but I'm going to say the vast majority of the time. You're going to put her in the front to block against Nardis, right? So Cecelia is very important. However, she's going to die in 1 hit. So she's going to die to Dolby anyways, and she's going to die to Nardis anyways. So her plus doesn't matter as much anymore. So for her, I would say she's like a 1.5. Kali is a very good unit. However, and this is very important, and this is why she's going to get the rating that she gets. Kali is going to be replaced next month. Next month, we are going to get a unit named Banshina. She's a very strong tank unit who does the same shit as Kali. She's almost the same role. She does the same shit. She just blocks people, but she's significantly better. So you have no reason at this point in time to get Kali, unless you already have the other units I'm talking about. And I'm going to explain why I think Glacia is a higher priority than Kali. So I'm going to put Kali at number 2. And again, go through the priorities. If you already have everything else, then you do it in your order. I'm going to put Glacia as number 1. And this is future proofing. We have an advantage over Korea because we know what units are coming out 2-3 months ahead of time. You need to make use of that information, even if it means like hurting yourself a little bit. Or even better, if you're in my situation, I already have Cecelia at +15. I already have Kali at +15. And even if I didn't, I would have them +15 by the time Glacia comes out. So Glacia is going to be getting her +15 soon. She's going to become the undisputed best tank in the game, barring Lucius. I believe Lucius is probably, by most people, considered still better. But realistically, she's one that everyone can have. She has Taunt. She survives Levia. She survives Velfern. She survives pretty much almost everything other than maybe Nardis. Maybe like a very strong buffed Nardis would kill her. But that's about it. She survives almost everything else. She's a very strong unit and you are going to want to have her. So if you are okay with being a little behind for 2 months while you wait for the +15 Glacia, I would say go Glacia. If you already have Cecelia and Kali maxed or near maxed, go Glacia. You have no reason, even to the point like this. If you have Cecelia +0 and you want Kali right now, don't go Kali. I want to say that ahead of time. Don't even go Kali. Don't bother. You want to know why? It's simple. Wait for Bansina. Put all the books that you're going to put into Kali into her, and you're going to have her in your team. She's going to be way stronger, and you can actually use her in more than just PvP. She's going to be useful in Arena. She's going to be useful in PvE. She's going to be useful in defending your mystics. She's going to be useful in UA. She's going to be useful everywhere. Not that many people are running Kali in Korea anymore. There's no reason to have her as such a high priority when she's not being used 2 months from now, or used much. Like, there's no reason for it unless you're going to double up on defenders. Like, why would you have Kali and Bonsina and probably Granhilder if you're a top player? You're probably going to have Granhilder as well. There's no reason to have 3 of them. You only need 2, which is why Kali for me is not a high priority. I'm personally going to pick Glacia because I already have them maxed. I already have Cecelia. I already have Kali. I have no reason to pick anything other than Glacia at this point. It's fine to me if she's going to be useless for 2 months because that's okay. I don't mind making an investment for the future in the same way that 2 months ago, I already started getting my Dalvi soul gear and all her helpers for the +9 event so that I can pick her as a free +9. I'll have her +15 instant. That's it. That's simple. You're thinking ahead of time. It's very good and very important that players think ahead of time. This is a key for global, for EU, however, like 40, 50 people that play on EU, Japanese server, everyone that's not on KR, they need to think ahead of time on what is important. Now, we are going to move on to the next one. Number 4. Now, everyone already knows automatically Hell's number 1. I don't even need to do X's right now. Leah, not needed. Kyle, not needed. Dr. Logic, not needed. So Magnus, not needed. Second priority, Choco for PvP. Choco is a very good unit in PvP, which, like a lot of people are going to ask, well, Tachi, why are you so hell-bent on prioritizing units that are in PvP? Well, first of all, I'm a mainly PvP user. And second of all, in a couple of months, no matter how new you are to this game, you could start today by the time this video comes out. It doesn't matter. You will eventually clear most or all of PvE. You're going to finish your Evil Castle. You're going to finish your story, most of it. You're going to finish your world boss. You're going to have your world boss maxed out. So you're prioritizing at that point is whatever you use in Novice and whatever you use in normal arena and underground and guild war. So anything other than that, it's secondary. You don't need to worry about, oh, well, this unit's really good in PvE because you're going to clear it anyways. It doesn't matter. You don't need to prioritize a unit that's good in just PvE like Esther when you could pick something else that's better all around. Now, on that note, Hell is not used that much in Arena anymore. However, she's going to help you in all of PvE. She will make it easy for you. Like Dead Brain. She makes almost everything in PvE easy. And I'm going to put Nias as well as number 2, maybe like 2.5. Because she's not as good as Choco. Choco is a very good PvP unit. You really, really, really want to have your bombers at max. Now next, I'm going to say it's a tie between Charlotte, Zarka, and Esther. Because all of them are used in PvE. They're all used in PvE in different ways. Charlotte is some occasionally, very occasionally, you'll see her in Novice Arena. But Zarka and Esther will help you a lot in world bosses. That's very important as well. It's not that important. You could always max them out eventually, but if you already have everyone else, you might as well go for them. I would really not put anything into these other ones like Kyle, Leah. You don't really need them +9 or at all. Logic, I've seen him used in some stages, but honestly, you could do without him as well. So let's move on to the next one. We're on the 5-star supporters. So automatically, Venica is not needed, Mary's not needed, Themis not needed, Helena's not needed, Veronia is not needed, Laura is not needed, Floria is not needed. So right here, very simple. Michaela's number 1, guaranteed. That's that. It's that easy. Now, number 2, Idolin is very strong for Guild War defense, and she's very strong for arena defense. So I'm going to give her a 2. Now, the same goes for Walia. However, I say this because a lot of players already have Walia at +6 or plus whatever. They don't really use her that often. I already personally have Walia, so for me, she's like a 2.5. So this right here is really going to depend on what you have. So for me, I already have Michaela. I already have Walia. I'm going to go for Idolin to make my defenses better. If you have Michaela and you don't have Walia or Idolin, personally, I think Idolin would have a bigger impact on your defense win ratio. I personally think that she's better on defense than Walia will ever be. However, Walia is also a very good unit, and it's very close between them. So that's where you're going to have to make the decision of which one is more important for you. But Michaela will always have priority. Michaela is more important for you to have. Even in Refu meta, it's very important for you to have Michaela as an option because you will occasionally need her. So do keep that in mind. None of the other units are really needed. Venacon's not that great. You don't need her like at all. Mary, not that great. You don't need her. Same goes for everyone else. Laura, I'm going to give you a squiggly, buddy, because, you know, occasionally there's some actual defenses that are pretty good with Laura. But that's like a, literally, if you already have Michaela, Idolin, and Walia, then you could go Laura. That's all that is. If you already have all the other priorities, Laura is your next bet, or Veronia. But you really have no reason for Veronia at this point, considering we have Cerubia and that other, the new 4-star. It has like a, she's just like part of a plus. She's a 3 tile. So you really have no need for that. So we're moving on to number 6, if I'm not mistaken. Day 6. Day 6, this is even easier. Alche, you don't need. Kana, you don't need. Everything else, this is actually pretty tough because some of these are actually pretty useful. But I'm going to say Orion, you don't need. Everyone else is really tough though, for sure. So your first priority here is definitely going to be Nia because she's actually used in a lot of Evil Castle and PvP, like actual arena. But she's not used that often in Novice Arena. Now, I'm going to say Zakon is your number 1.5. Violet's going to be about a 2, only for PvE. And tied with her is going to be Rito, Leon, Yunrong, and Corette. So Nia and Zakon are your priorities to have at +9. You need them +9. Nia's used in normal arena a lot, and Zakon is used a lot as well. You're definitely going to want Zakon to take care of certain units. Like I said, you always want your bombers at +9. And then Violet is used a lot in PvE, and you need her +9. You actually need her to have that extra tile. So she's very important to have at +9. And then Rito, Leon, Yunrong, and Corette are also used a lot in Novice and in PvE. So they are very important. I would even say that the top 4 are actually more priorities than Violet is. So do keep that in mind. Obviously, if you already have some of these units +9, use your best judgment. Personally, I already have all of these units at +9, with the exception of Alche and Kana. So I'm just going to pick Kana because I have no need for Alche at this point. So, obviously, like I said, use your best judgment. You know what you have. I don't. If you already have certain things or you're having trouble with certain stages, use them as a priority. On that note, Orion is used in World Boss. So you do want her +9 eventually. But she's not a priority. You don't need her for World Boss, like to that extent. She's just a very good World Boss unit in certain stages. Now we are moving on to day 7, the final day before the 6 devils are free. So this one is also going to be pretty tough. But let's see. Martina's not needed. Grossa, not needed. Renee, not needed. Denarisa, not needed. Britain, not needed. I want to even say Achal's not needed. Now, here is the problem. Now, my priorities here, I'm going to put it on 3 units. Frederica, Iris, and Grace. Now, if you guys are unaware, Frederica is being used a lot nowadays. Even in Korea, still, after Bonsin and everyone else, is still used quite a bit in Arena. Not like a ton, but she's used quite a bit because she kills certain units. Like right now, and Global, if you guys are paying attention, you might have seen her a couple times because she kills Kali like very easily and survives. So she's there. Grace is mostly there because you might, especially if you don't have Mamo at +6, you're gonna need Grace for a lot of guild wars, and she does need I'm pretty sure she needs +9 if I'm not mistaken. So she's a very necessary unit to have at +9 eventually, which I do not have her at +9. So hopefully eventually I get her there. However, I will be picking Frederica because I actually do want that extra option. Now next is Iris. Now, if you guys are unaware, Iris did come out with her +15. And if you guys don't know, Iris is actually very dominant in PvP now for Novice. Pretty much everyone uses her, and she makes Novice a lot harder for everyone, including yourself. So you are definitely going to want to have her at +9, at least by then, which is like 2 months from now. So you definitely want to have her maxed out. Whether you get her now or you get her with books, it doesn't really matter, but she is like the main priority. She's like the actual priority. Everyone else is like a 1.5. You know, they're nice to haves afterwards. And then BDM, he's actually quite good for a lot of Evil Castle stages. I've even seen him in Arena occasionally, like actual Arena, because he does actually deal with Lucius to some extent. Obviously, because he hits quite a bit of times. However, he is going to be replaced with if you have Catherine or if you have Christina. So do keep that in mind. He's just there because he's honestly a better unit to pick out of the other ones. Renee is also used occasionally in Novice Arena, so she's an iffy. But everyone else is not really a priority, in my opinion. So let's move on to the final day. Who should you pick for your 6th devil? Now, this one is highly contentious. Personally, unless, yeah, actually, I'm going to make it easy on myself. 1 and 1. So the main priorities is Refi and Nardis. You have Grand coming in at number 2. And then I'm going to say maybe like a 2.5 for Alec and a 3 for Angelica. Now, everyone is going to pick Refi or Nardis. If you already have one of them or both of them, go down the list. Refi makes your team very fluid because you really can place her anywhere. You free up a spot because you only need to run her. You don't need any other supports. Nardis, as you are aware, one-shots an entire lane, as well as fires every turn after the second attack. So, you know, obviously he's a very strong unit to have on attack. So that's why they're priorities. Grandhilder is an artist counter. If you have Grandhilder at +3, she trades with Nardis. If you have her at +6, she kills Nardis and survives. Any higher, and she just does her role even better. But I would say that if you have none of the 6 devils, like most people, like myself included, I don't have any of them at the moment, I think Refi or Nardis is a better choice. Now, Alec dies immediately to Refi counter. Immediately. So for me, I would say Alec is not a top priority. However, it is important to note that even though he does die, he will usually kill, depending on where the enemy is, of course, he will usually kill 1 to 3 units, depending on his positioning and the enemy positioning. So I can't discount the fact that he is a very strong unit and that he does do his job properly. He does his job very well. Obviously, if you can get a 2 or 3 man advantage in arena when you're on offense, which is usually where you're going to see the advantage. On defense, he's obviously not as good as on offense. So if you are okay with having a very stacked offense team with an Alec, that's on you. Personally, I would not choose him. And then the reason why I have Angelica as your third priority is because Angelica, while she is strong, she requires plus 15. She cannot be used at plus 12. She cannot. I would not do it. It is not worth it. Only use her at plus 15. So automatically, I'm going to have to deduct because unlike the other ones, you could use Alec at plus 12. You can use Refi at plus 12. You could use Nardis, honestly, at plus 6 if you really wanted to. And you could use Grant at plus 3. Angelica is the only one that you really want at plus 15, like very badly. You need it. You really do. And even then, she's not that strong anymore because she gets stuck on too many units, especially with Bonsina coming out like 2 weeks later. Or actually, I think she comes out a month after because if I'm not mistaken, Kiria comes out first. So I'm sorry, but Angelica, as waifu as she is, trust me, I will get her eventually. I do want to get her because I do have her swimsuit costume. She's just not that good. She's very strong. Don't get me wrong. She's really strong. But the way the meta has evolved, there's a lot of units that counter her outright. And she's just kind of lackluster. Like, there's the only thing I can give up to her is that she's a really tanky unit for a warrior. And you could put her in skip position and she's very strong. And she doesn't die to that many things. She's a really good unit in that aspect. Oh, and another thing, Granhilder also, if I'm not mistaken, Granhilder, like Leckless, also kills Asmode, as does Glacia. So keep that in mind. They all counter Asmode to some extent. So I cannot, with my knowledge, put her at a higher priority, even above Alec, because at least Alec is always going to be useful in the aspect of attacking. He's always going to make you, obviously, if you have him and he hits like a Lucius or something and that's it, maybe not that useful, but, not every time are you going to be fighting someone in the opposite lane. There's going to be a lot of times where you fight the enemy and they have like a Michaela and then like an empty spot and then another support. He's going to eat right through them as a first attacker and just kill them. He's going to kill 2 units or 3 units if you're really lucky. He's going to kill through 3 units. And there's like nothing you can do. Like how does the enemy fight back after losing 3 units? Like you're almost guaranteed to win at that point. So that's all I have to say on that. Hopefully this clears up a lot of things. Not to throw flack, but just I don't see why they prioritize what they prioritize when we know what we know. You know what I mean? Obviously, everyone knows, what is going to happen. GR, Igel, we all know what's going to come down in 2-3 months. We all know all the units that are going to come out. We already know what KR is playing with. We already know how the meta is going to look, at least somewhat. We know what units are viable and what units aren't. And we know what you should prioritize. So when I see that some people place certain units at a way higher priority than is necessary or completely discount another unit that is about to be a high priority, this doesn't make any sense to me. Why would I ever, with the knowledge that I have, why would I ever place, say, a Cowley ahead of a Glacia when we know that Cowley is not going to be used that much anymore? Why would anyone ever do that? I would even say Cecelia. Cecelia is a significantly higher priority than Cowley will ever be at this stage in the game. If you really wanted to make Cowley like really badly because she's really strong, I want to say you're already like a month and a half off. Whenever she dropped, you should have had her at +9 already because we knew 3 months ahead. You should have already had her at +9 or started building her like I did. I had her at +0 when she dropped. And then once I was done with Cecelia, I immediately went into her because I knew she was going to be really useful. And she was. She made my team a lot stronger. Even with the Asmode users and the Fredericas running around, she still does her job for me a lot. So that boat has already sailed. In the same way that, actually, I don't know if I have the Warriors here, but let me actually bring that up. There's no reason for you to pick something that is already like done. Like you don't need Hanya, for example. Why would you ever pick Hanya? Why would you ever pick Wahamina? You have no reason to pick Wahamina. She's not used anymore. She's not going to be used. She's not going to be good anymore unless the meta completely changes. Many months from now, when perhaps somehow, for whatever reason, people stop using Refi and people stop using people with counters, maybe Wahamina will come back. But until then, she's 100% not a priority. You do not need her at all. She's not a priority at all. Your priorities on this is merely Dalvi, Foxy, Christina. Christina for future proofing. Dalvi is still used even to this day, even with Christina coming out. She's always going to be used for many more months. You know, Dalvi is a high priority. Christina is a high priority. Foxy is only a priority if you already have them both, because she does not die to Refi. That's just my point. Hopefully you guys understand that. Obviously I am subjective to some extent, but I'm going based off of my own intuition and what I see being used. And I keep track of that. So I'm not talking about just units being used now, this month. I'm also talking about units that were used when 6 Devil dropped in Korea, which was 2.5 months ago. So this is stuff that, you know, I have to at least let out, because I don't think it's good to, I'm not even going to say mislead, because it's not like anyone was misleading. I just disagree heavily. I don't think you should pick Anastasia because she's useful in PvE. Like, yeah, she is, but so what? You're going to clear PvE anyways. Yeah, she's good, but you really only need a Gunther. You really only need Gunther. Like, he's really the only PvE unit that I would say everyone needs. That's why I would never suggest anyone to get Cecelia until we get the free Eno again, because they're renewing the 30-day login event. So everyone that plays is going to get a second Eno, and then you're going to have a free Gunther that you could then use to get Cecelia, because you're already going to have another Gunther. So that's okay at that point. But Gunther is the only PvE unit in hell that I say you really need. Everyone else is just a nice to have. You could replace Anastasia. You don't need a plus shape in PvE. You really don't. She just makes things a little easier. That's all. Everything else, PvP should be your priority 100% of the time. PvP, 100% of your priority. That's where you get the vast majority of your diamonds long term. If you want to be a long-term player, even a month in as a new player, you're still going to be playing PvP. You might be losing, but you will eventually catch up. It might take a month or two, but you always want PvP to be your ideal goal behind the decisions you make. So either way, like I said, I feel like I'm rambling a lot now. That's just my opinion based on the knowledge that I have. Hopefully you guys appreciate what I'm saying, and hopefully I don't cause too much unnecessary drama because I disagree with what some people say. So either way, I'm out. Have a nice day.